To that end, you did mention on your Instagram that initially you'd been hired to do 2 Scooby-Doo Halloween specials, with one of them being cancelled due to the Warner Brothers merger, and obviously there's been other kind of projects as well. We understand that Warner Brothers have asked that you honour the NDA surrounding this, but in your opinion, do you think the fact they want an NDA in place means that there's the possibility they want to continue with this concept in the future, that it's something could be called back to?
I won't lie, like it was the exact same crew that did Trick or Treat. We did 2 movies back to back. And there was the second one was initially slated for this year to come out at the same time as Trick or Treat, but the sadly canceled Scoob movie pushed it to a later release date. But we're all keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that maybe they'll unearth it for a later date, because as great as Trick or Treat was, we really loved the second one. Our hearts were 100% in the second. Like, not that they weren't in Trick or Treat, but you know what I mean? Like we all had such a good time with the second one that it was like we couldn't wait to see it, and then to hear it got canceled. We actually had a lunch and drinks because we were just like, no, like, we were bummed out. So,
well, it's something that we really do hope to see, and I think ultimately the support that Trick or Treat has kind of got would hopefully support them to think, do you know what, if everybody's enjoyed the work that these people have done so much, they're going to enjoy that equally again if they were to work on another project, and who knows, hopefully a third and a fourth, because for me this has been a standout Scooby movie of the last decade at least. Like, I have enjoyed this one so much. And as we said, you revealed the existence of the project along with its cancellation on Instagram, along with answering a fan question about its possible connection to Trick or Treat. So to that end, is that the kind of information that was kind of covered by the NDA and everything?
Yeah, the NDA kind of covers me from saying anything. I can't even put the work in my portfolio without like super hardcore privacy stuff. Like, they won't let me post anything without permission, and even then it's password protected. But that's typical for the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, we signed so many NDAs. What I can say about it, what I don't think will get anything in trouble, is that it did have a really fun Stephen King vibe to it. And it wasn't a sequel to Trick or Treat, and Coco was not in it. As much as I love Coco, she was not in it. So that I can say all of that without getting in trouble.
No, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine even, me in that situation, how difficult that must be. And again, in terms of, I guess, the takeaway from everything is that I don't know. I think when all the stuff happened with Scoob Holiday Haunt being cancelled, it was such a weird time because we interviewed the co-director of that movie, and not, 3 days before the cancellation news. But it almost seemed that got so much hype because we had the title and stuff. And it's like, because this movie, the other movie that was shelved, cancelled, it didn't have a public title. It didn't, no one knows about the direct-to-video movies until we get the trailer. And so it's just kind of, my heart does go out for everyone that was involved in the movie, because obviously Holiday Haunt, that cancellation was really sad, but again, it's equally sad just thinking about the other things that maybe flew under the radar because they were less public. So definitely hoping that can be saved and resurrected at some point. It would be good. It'd be good.
Yeah, it would be really, I mean, without breaking the NDA, it would have been something that had a lot of people really excited. It did bring back some older characters that were fan favorites, and the crew just had a really great time boarding. Like, to see the storyboard artist so excited, it was like all of us were just crushed. But like you said, with the direct to videos, you don't find out when it's coming out. Like, we don't even know when it's coming out, you know. It's like they, until they drop something on YouTube and you're like, oh, hey, it's gonna come out, this is great. Like we didn't even know if Trick or Treat was canceled or not, like, because all the cancellations were happening. And then it was like, after they announced Scoob and unfortunately Batgirl getting canceled, it was like later that week, they're just like, here's a trailer for Trick or Treat. And we're like, yes, it didn't get shelved, you know? So
I mean, it was a huge relief. And
yeah,
you
it
know,
was huge.
like, because we heard about Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo through something. There was like a visual released about 8-9 months ago that people were thinking maybe it was a TV series. Like, nobody really knew what it was except for that Guess Who art style and the title. But even then, I think something like Holiday Haunt has such an advantage in that it's hashtagable, like hashtag save this. Whereas if you were to say hashtag save unnamed shelf Scooby-Doo movie, it doesn't really have that ring to it. So
yeah, it kind of makes it difficult because there was like a petition and everything for Scoob Holiday Haunt, because you know the name of it, you know what you're kind of convincing people to save. Whereas saying to somebody, sign this for a direct to DVD Scooby-Doo, it kind of doesn't have the same ring to it. People don't exactly know what it is, and it's such a shame because
especially for one that was not slated to come out until next Halloween. You know, we knew that it was going to be pushed to Halloween Scooptober 2023 if it was to come out, or when it was supposed to come out. But you know, yeah, it's like there's not even a name floating through for people to be like, save it, you know. Like, I know what the working title was, but I can't say it. You know, like, but yeah,
I'm excited to move on to some questions about Haunted Harrows, because it wasn't long after we said we'd love to see all these people do a second movie because the first one was done so well that we learned there was meant to be a second one. So how did that come about? I think you're kind of explaining this to us before we started recording. So you'd all already kind of been brought in for two movies, was that correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They were doing what they call a twofer. It was the TV department is getting more into long form now that streaming is. It used to be direct to video, like the TV department would also do direct to video because they're not necessarily technically feature, but these were features. They're just long form from the TV department. So to be able to work out a budget to be able to do both of these, it was bring on a crew and just have them do two movies at once. So we finished, as we're finishing up one movie, the board artists would peel off of the first movie, and then I would start launching them onto scripts and script pages, figuring out how to cast people. So I think we had 10 board artists, and some were good with comedy, some were good with emotion, some were good with staging, some were good with cinematic. One guy in particular was just amazing with chase sequences. So it was fun to launch people and cast people. It's not just, here's the next section of the script. It was to be able to find standalone sections and characters that they could continue to play out through the movie. There was a whole bunch of sequences that happened in the haunted ballroom. So I gave it to one board artist in particular, because we were going to continue revisiting that area. And once he got to know the geography of the ballroom and the different characters, then it was just a no-brainer to make him do all 4 of the sequences.
I mean, it was so great to see such a talented team come together, and like we
they were really amazing. They were really amazing. We made each other laugh. We came up with gag ideas, and just everybody was just a delight to work with.
That was amazing. And so was this we've researched on IMDb, but I'm going to ask this to make sure I've got it right. So was this your debut as director of animation, or had you already directed previously?
This is such a sad answer.
Sorry.
I've directed up to this point 5 features. One was canceled, so that's Scooby-Doo. The Tinkerbell franchise, I was replaced with a male director because John Lasseter has a very difficult time letting women finish anything. I was directing something called Oldzilla, which was shelved because it ultimately came down that China cannot make a Godzilla movie because Japan owns the IP. So, but it was a riot to work on. I have so many Godzilla posters in my office. And the fifth one is the one that I'm currently directing right now. There's not enough women directors in Hollywood. And because I kept having projects either get shelved or canceled or replaced just once, I decided to make myself a director, and that's why I've directed a stop motion animation feature, which is now complete. I'm working with a composer right now, a composer and somebody who's, and an agent, so I can get into the festival circuit. So, yeah, that was going to be my first directing credit. So to find out that it got shelved, I'm like, not again, but it happens.
Oh yeah. And also, like now, like with the Scooby movies, because even the people that were directing Holiday Haunt, it was their first time as directors as well. So the whole world of Scooby has kind of taken a hit this year. It's bad.
But as you mentioned, I mean, I know it's been shelved, but there's still hope for it to come out. You mentioned the Hex Girls, and it just sounds incredible. But at what point did you actually find out the movie was going to be shelved?
Joe called me. Joe called me and said, has the studio been in touch with you? And I said, no. And this was, I think, at the beginning of October. And he said, oh, well, somebody should be reaching out to you. I'm afraid it got shelved. And it's a financial decision. And I think Warner Brothers is getting a tax credit for shelving it and canceling it. So it's dead. I think because of the merger with Discovery, they just took a look at everything that was going into streaming, everything that was going to be going to HBO Max, and just threw a red line through everything. Figured out how much they'd spent. And the saddest part is it would have cost the same to shelve it as it did to make it, because it was already locked picture ready for animation. And that was another reason for them doing the two movies back to back, is they had an animation studio they could be feeding work to. But it just, I don't know. It seems so sad since it's so close. But I do not understand the politics or how financial decisions at Warner Brothers get made, but I'm not really sure they're going to resuscitate this. My producer keeps saying, I just don't think, he doesn't think it's going to come back to life, but maybe, who knows?
How far along was the movie into production?
Locked picture, production dialogue, all the songs were recorded. It was ready for animation.
Oh gosh, that's
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I mean, like on top of everything, it's just, I mean,
especially
it is
since
crazy.
they were brand new. These were brand new Hex Girl songs, and then we had another character who also sang. The songs were just amazingly hilarious and extreme. We had a board artist who did the bad guy song sequences that were just it's like psychedelic mushrooms. Not that I've ever done them, but spinning cameras, pushing in through the characters, eyeballs and out the other side. It was kind of a riot and a little scary.
I mean, it's definitely something that all of us here would love to see, and no doubt everyone watching this would want to see. But I guess if it is fated to be in the void for the foreseeable future, like, I guess, what could people, as far as you're allowed to say, of course, what could people have expected to see from Haunted High Rise?
The Hex Girls. The Hex Girls back on stage with new songs.
I feel like that's all people need. Like, as soon as you say the Hex Girls were there, it's kind of like, that's it, we want it.
Yeah, lots of chases, a little more emotional stuff on Velma's part. Daphne going through a hissy fit. There was some really fun stuff in there that I probably can't give away because maybe they'll do it again in another movie.
And in terms of all the stuff with the Hex Girls, did you have like the names of like all the tracks and stuff? Like, was there perhaps going to be a soundtrack release of some sort? Like,
I don't know. I would not know. I'm not really sure how they do those things. Probably.
Gosh, it's certainly something that we're all hoping to see, because the Hex Girls returning is something that everyone's wanted for a long time. There's not been a single movie they've done that has the Hex Girls in it that's not been incredible and made it into people's, top 10 Scoobies. So it is such a shame. But do you have a favorite memory from working on Haunted High Rise?
I'd like 1,000 favorite memories of working on Haunted High Rise. It was the caliber of the script. I keep taking my hat off to Audie Harrison. His writing is just brilliant. And I've worked on a lot of animated scripts. This one was pristine. It was funny. It was to the point. It was so easy to hand out to board artists because we weren't trying to figure out what the motivation behind any of the scenes. There was some really great gags. And as I said, very cinematic. I mean, a motorcycle chase through the hallways, which I would never in a million years want to draw, but we had a board artist who did, and he just did a great job with it. It was kind of hilarious doing the voiceover recordings on Zoom and getting to meet Shaggy and Scooby. The fun, actually, of my favorite memory of that is a very personal one too. We had to record scratch voices for the animatic while we played it back and built the reels before we had the production voices. So my son, who's 25, did the voice of Shaggy. And I got to do the voice of Velma, and we did in 3-hour sessions. We did table reads where we would just basically act out the lines so that the editor was able to record them and cut them into the footage. So for about 2 months, anytime I saw animatics that I was helping edit, I got to listen to my son's voice doing Shaggy, and so I had no idea he was so good.
Well, that does sound amazing. Oh, there seems like there's so many amazing moments for you when working on that movie. And we really do hope that it's something that we're all going to be able to, see and share soon. I mean, not too long ago, Amazon did list Haunted High Rise as a movie that was going to be available from the 1st of October 2023. Do you know if that was the kind of intended release date, or the fact that Amazon has listed it? Do you think that could show some kind of change or progression or anything?
It's funny you ask me that, because the reason why we're talking is I think you have somebody who follows you or knows you ask me the same question in a DM on Instagram. And that's when I found out that Mary had done an interview and that you guys had interviewed her. And so that's when I think I reached out to you guys, or he reached out for me or something. And yeah, he sent me the link, and he seemed so sure that it was because Amazon had a spot for it, that it was, a product was going to show up there. And I am so sure that they just build these, and then if nothing shows up, it just lives on the internet. So it's not a guarantee at all. I think it's just somebody in marketing created that spot where it was eventually going to get delivered. It's just like a link. It's a link to nowhere, really. It's like an empty room in a video game. It's just there. Nobody's in it. Nobody's coming to it anytime soon. So no, I don't think that means that it's going to show up.
I mean, like you just mentioned, ever since we released the interview with Mary J. Hoffman, many people said they wanted to see Haunted High Rise. What was your response to support? Are you hopeful, or yeah, it's strange.
No, I immediately texted my producer and said, so did we all sign an NDA? How much can I share about this? He goes, yeah, we all signed an NDA. And I went, oh, darn it. But I think, we can use it. I'm sure the board artists can use it as portfolio material. I mean, if a project gets canceled, they still did the work on it. But I don't know. I'm not in the loop at all on the fate of it. I just heard it from, the producer's mouth that it's just black armband time, if you know what I mean. The black armbands people wear when there's a death.
Oh gosh.
I know.